My name is Christy Hodges, and I'm 31 years old. The day I held the keys to my first home, I thought I had finally outrun my past. Not just the cramped childhood house, not just the years of scraping by, but the quiet, constant feeling that I would always be second place in my own family. I remember standing in front of that house, my house, in Riverside Heights, the late afternoon sun hitting the windows just right, making everything look like something out of a life I used to only imagine from a distance. 4 bedrooms, three-car garage, a backyard so big it didn't feel real. I stood there longer than I should have, fingers wrapped around the keys, almost afraid if I blinked, it would disappear. Because nothing that good had ever come easy to me. I didn't grow up poor. That's what makes it harder to explain. We had food. We had stability. My dad worked middle management at an insurance company, steady income, steady routine. My mom worked part-time as a dental hygienist, 3 days a week, enough to keep things comfortable. But comfort isn't the same as fairness. And in our house, fairness didn't exist. There was always a line drawn, subtle, invisible to outsiders, but painfully clear to me. My older sister, Vanessa, was on one side, and I was on the other. Vanessa was the golden child, the one my parents invested in. Dance lessons, piano lessons, art classes, whatever she showed the slightest interest in, they poured money into it like it was guaranteed to turn into something meaningful. When her grades dropped, they hired tutors. When she got stressed, they sent her to summer camps. When she turned 18, they bought her a brand new BMW. I still remember the day it pulled into the driveway, shining like something out of a commercial. Reliable transportation, my mom had said. I was 17 at the time, working part-time at an auto shop after school, my hands always smelling like oil, saving up for things no one else was going to buy for me. When I asked about SAT fees, $60, they told me to figure it out. So I did. That became my pattern. Figure it out. Need something? Work for it. Want something? Earn it. Don't expect help. Don't expect praise. Don't expect anything. By 16, I was working construction during summers. Real construction. The kind where the heat doesn't just sit on your skin, it sinks into your bones. Where your muscles ache so badly at night you wonder how you'll get up the next morning. $12 an hour. Every penny saved, while Vanessa posted beach photos from trips my parents paid for. College wasn't even a discussion. State school. Finance major. 30 hours a week working. Bookstore shifts. Waitressing. Weekend gigs. Whatever paid. There were nights I studied at 2 a.m., eating instant noodles, telling myself this wasn't permanent. That one day I'd have something to show for all of it. And I did. A 3.8 GPA. A real estate license before I even graduated. Small deals on the side, flipping contracts, building something piece by piece. No safety net, no backup plan. Just me. After graduation, I went straight into commercial real estate. At the bottom. Coffee runs, paperwork, late nights doing things no one else wanted to do. But I stayed. I learned. I pushed. Year after year. Deal after deal. Until I wasn't the one fetching coffee anymore. I was the one closing million-dollar contracts. Last year, I made $180,000. This year, I was on track for $220,000. And I didn't spend it. I saved. Obsessively. Because I knew exactly what I wanted. A house. Not just a place to live. Proof. That I could build something real. Without them. Meanwhile, Vanessa? She had a $160,000 communications degree my parents paid for, spent 2 years in California, finding herself. Came back with no job, no direction, and a new identity. Lifestyle influencer. 5 years later, she was still in my parents' basement, still driving that BMW, still posting filtered coffee pictures and stolen quotes like they meant something. $800 a month. That was her income. But somehow, in her world, she was the one struggling, the one who deserved more. And me? I was the one who had everything handed to me. The day I closed on my house, I posted a photo. Just me, standing in front of it, holding the keys like they were something sacred. Caption: Dreams do come true when you work for them. It wasn't meant to be a statement. But maybe part of me knew it was. The response was immediate. Friends, colleagues, people I hadn't spoken to in years. Proud of you. You earned this. This is huge. Over 200 likes in a few hours. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing, and for once, it felt good to be seen. My parents didn't react. No like. No comment. Nothing. At the time, I told myself they were just busy. Looking back, that was the first warning. 3 days later, my dad called. His voice was different. Tight. Controlled. We need to have a family meeting about this house situation. I frowned. What house situation? A pause. Then, you know what I'm talking about. I didn't. But something in my chest tightened anyway. Their living room felt wrong the second I walked in. Too quiet. Too staged. My parents sat side by side on the couch, shoulders squared like they were presenting a united front. Vanessa sat across from them, legs crossed, scrolling her phone until I stepped in. Then she looked up, smiling. Not warmly, just expectantly. And in the middle of the room, an empty chair, facing all of them, waiting for me. I should have walked out. I didn't. I sat down, and everything changed. Elena, my dad started, then corrected himself. Christy, we've been talking as a family. That was already a bad sign. And we believe the right thing to do would be for Vanessa to have the house. For a second, I genuinely thought I misheard him. I let out a short laugh. Sorry. What? My mom leaned forward immediately, her tone sharp, almost irritated. This reaction is exactly the problem. Vanessa didn't say anything yet. She just watched me, like she'd been waiting for this moment. She's struggling, my mom continued. You're doing well. You could buy another house. This isn't that complicated. Not that complicated. I stared at her, trying to find something, anything, that made this make sense. You're serious? I asked quietly. Vanessa finally spoke, and I wish she hadn't, because what she said next, I will never forget. I've always dreamed of living in a house like that, she said, her voice soft, almost fragile. And honestly, I think I deserve it more than you do. Something inside me went still. Not angry. Not yet. Just stunned. I've been through a lot, she continued, placing a hand dramatically on her chest. Trying to build something from nothing. Trying to be creative in a world that doesn't support people like me. I blinked slowly. People like her. You don't understand what it's like, she said. You've always had stability. A steady job. A clear path. Everything was handed to you. That's when it hit. Not just what she was saying, but what she believed. This woman, who had never paid rent, never held a real job, never worried about bills, was looking at me and calling me privileged. You don't get it, she went on, her voice rising slightly. It's not fair that you get to live in luxury while I'm stuck in a basement trying to make something of myself. Not fair. The words echoed in my head. Every early morning, every double shift, every night I went to bed exhausted and woke up anyway. Not fair. I looked at my parents, waiting, hoping, stupidly, that one of them would step in. Say this had gone too far. They didn't. They just watched me, expecting me to agree. That's when the anger came. Slow, cold, precise. You're all insane, I said. No yelling, no emotion, just truth. I stood up. The chair scraped loudly against the floor, and for a moment, no one moved. This isn't a discussion, my dad said sharply behind me. Family takes care of family. I turned slightly. Then maybe you should have started years ago. And I walked out. I told myself that was it, that it was just a ridiculous conversation, something they'd regret in a few days, something they'd apologize for. 2 weeks later, I came home from the gym and found a woman standing outside my front door. Suit, clipboard, neutral expression, professional, cold. "Christy Hodges?" she asked. "Yes." She handed me an envelope. "You've been served." I opened it right there. Didn't even make it inside. Didn't need to. Because the first line was enough. My parents were suing me. 47 pages. Every word more insane than the last. Claims that I owed them $420,000 for raising me. Claims that Vanessa was financially disadvantaged. Claims that I had a moral and legal obligation to give up my home. And at the very end, their demand: transfer ownership of my house to my sister. I stood there on my front porch, keys still in my hand, looking at the place I had built my entire life toward. And for the first time since I bought it, it didn't feel safe. Because suddenly it wasn't just a house anymore. It was a target. And my family? They weren't just unreasonable. They weren't just entitled. They were willing to destroy me to get what they wanted. That was the moment I understood. This wasn't going to end with an apology. This wasn't going to fix itself. This was war. The first thing I felt wasn't fear. It was rage. Not loud, explosive rage, but something quieter, sharper. The kind that settles deep in your chest and starts organizing itself. Because they hadn't just crossed a line, they'd erased it. I called a lawyer friend that night, read him everything, all 47 pages. When I finished, there was silence on the other end for a few seconds. Then he exhaled. "Christy, this is insane." "I know. But listen," he added, voice turning serious. "Insane doesn't mean harmless. You need to treat this like a real threat." I should have hired him. Anyone with common sense would have. But I didn't. Because this wasn't just legal anymore. This was personal. And part of me, maybe the same part that got me through years of being overlooked, wanted to fight this myself. I underestimated how ugly it would get. Within days, it wasn't just a lawsuit. It was a public spectacle. Vanessa went first. Instagram stories. Long, emotional paragraphs about toxic family members who choose money over love. Photos of her crying. Perfectly lit, of course. Then TikTok. A full series. My sister stole my future. I wish I was exaggerating. She'd sit in her car, camera angled just right, voice trembling. I had plans. I had dreams. And she took everything from me. The comments poured in. At first, sympathy. People didn't know the full story. They never do. My parents followed right behind her. My mom posted a long Facebook essay about sacrifice, about how she gave up her career to raise me, about how I had forgotten my roots. My dad shared articles about ungrateful children, family values, moral obligations. They weren't just attacking me. They were rewriting reality. And then came the part that would have been funny, if it wasn't about me. Vanessa created a GoFundMe. Help me fight for my family home. She claimed I had manipulated the legal system, that I was trying to steal what rightfully belonged to the family. Her goal? $30,000. She raised $847, mostly from relatives. I stared at the page for a long time, not because I was hurt, but because I was starting to understand something important. They actually believed this. The harassment escalated fast, faster than I expected. They started driving by my house. At night, at random hours, just sitting there, watching. Vanessa would post stories from her car parked down the street, just thinking about what could have been. With a broken heart emoji. I installed security cameras the next day. Best decision I made. Within a week, I caught Vanessa walking up to my windows at 11 p.m. trying to peek inside. My aunt, my dad's sister, taking photos of my house from the street. My parents sitting in their car in my driveway. For 20 minutes. Not knocking. Just watching. That's when the anger changed. It wasn't just anger anymore. It was clarity. They weren't confused. They weren't emotional. They were calculated. And if they wanted to play this game, I was going to play it better. Discovery started soon after. They demanded my financial records. Proof I bought the house myself, which I provided, because I had nothing to hide. But I made requests too. And that's where everything shifted. Because what I found was better than anything I could have imagined. My parents weren't struggling, not even close. They had over $200,000 in savings and investments. The same people who claimed they couldn't help Vanessa had been quietly funding her life the entire time. $2,500 every month for 3 years, $90,000. On top of that, they paid her car insurance, her phone bill, her health insurance, and she lived rent-free. I sat there staring at the numbers. Then I laughed. Actually laughed. Because suddenly, everything made sense. Vanessa wasn't struggling. She was supported. She just wanted more. And she wanted it from me. The deeper I dug, the worse it got. She was making $800 a month from Instagram, while receiving $20,500 monthly from my parents, calling herself an independent entrepreneur. And somehow, I was the villain. The harassment didn't stop. If anything, it intensified. Vanessa started filming TikToks outside my neighborhood, crying in her car, talking about how she should be living here. One video hit 50,000 views, not because people supported her, because people were laughing. Comments flooded in. Why don't you get a job? Your sister worked for it. This is embarrassing. She doubled down. Of course she did. More videos, more crying, more accusations. But something interesting started happening. The narrative was slipping. People started digging, finding old posts, designer bags, vacations my parents paid for, her LinkedIn showing she'd been unemployed for years. The internet was doing my job for me. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, I was building something else. Documentation. Every message. Every post. Every time they showed up at my house. Every call to my workplace. Every piece of evidence. Because I wasn't just defending myself anymore. I was preparing to expose them. 3 weeks before court, Vanessa made a mistake. A big one. She posted a TikTok, shopping for furniture, luxury furniture, talking about how she was manifesting the life she deserved. In my house. I watched the video 3 times, then saved it. Because right there was everything I needed. 2 weeks before court, they showed up again. All of them. My parents. Vanessa. My aunt. Sunday morning. I was in my garage. And suddenly they were just there. Walking up like they owned the place. Christy, my dad started, trying to sound calm. We can still fix this? Vanessa was already walking around the yard, taking pictures, like she was planning renovations. Get off my property, I said. My voice was steady, but my hands weren't. My aunt started yelling about how ungrateful I was, how I was destroying the family. Vanessa started crying. Again. I just want what's fair, she shouted. I walked inside, locked the door, and called the police. By the time officers arrived, they were gone. Of course they were. But I filed a report anyway. That night, Vanessa posted again about how I called the police on my own family, about how some people choose power over love. The comments weren't on her side anymore. Court was set for Monday. I spent Sunday night surrounded by documents, financial records, screenshots, videos, police reports, every lie, every contradiction, every piece of truth they tried to bury, stacked neatly in front of me. And as I looked at it all, I realized something. They thought this was about a house, but it wasn't. It was about control. It always had been. And tomorrow, in that courtroom, they were finally going to lose it. I closed the last folder, turned off the lights, and for the first time since this started, I felt calm. Because I wasn't walking into court as their daughter anymore. I was walking in as their opponent. And I was ready. Court didn't feel real. It felt staged. Like everything leading up to it had been so surreal that my brain hadn't caught up yet. But the moment I stepped into that courtroom, cold air, polished wood, the quiet hum of tension, I knew this was where everything would finally break. I arrived early, dressed in my best suit, 2 briefcases in hand, every document, every screenshot, every piece of truth I had carefully collected. Across the room, they walked in together. My parents, Vanessa, my aunt, and a handful of relatives trailing behind them like an audience. They were dressed in dark colors, black, navy, like they were attending a funeral. And in a way, they were. Vanessa was holding a folder. I didn't think much of it until I got closer. Pinterest printouts, interior design ideas. For my house. I almost laughed, but I didn't, because this wasn't funny anymore. The judge walked in, mid-50s, sharp eyes, no patience. The kind of woman who had seen every version of family dysfunction and had no interest in entertaining it. Let's begin. Their lawyer went first. He sounded confident at the start, rehearsed. Your Honor, my clients are loving parents who invested heavily in their daughter's development and are now seeking equitable distribution of the benefits. The judge raised an eyebrow. Including ownership of property they did not purchase? A pause. A shift. But he continued. He talked about fairness, about family obligation, about Vanessa's financial hardship. Then it was my turn. I purchased the property entirely with my own income, I said, my voice steady. No one else contributed. This lawsuit is based on the idea that adult children owe their parents ownership of their assets. That is not law. That is entitlement. The judge nodded slightly. Let's see the evidence. They went first, and watching it unfold was almost painful. Baby photos. Of me. The judge stared at them. How do these relate to property ownership? Their lawyer hesitated. They represent the emotional and financial investment my clients made. Are you arguing, the judge interrupted, that parenting creates ownership rights over an adult child's property? Silence. Next. Vanessa's student loans. $160,000. Who is responsible for these? The judge asked. I am, Vanessa said softly, but I can't afford payments because of the economic climate affecting employment status? I'm an entrepreneur. Income? It's not about income right now. So you're unemployed? Vanessa froze. I'm self-employed. Even the judge didn't hide her expression that time. Then came her business plan, turning my house into a creative studio. Content space. Did the defendant agree to any of this? The judge asked. No, their lawyer admitted. Then why am I seeing it? That was the moment I knew. They had nothing. My turn, I said. Everything I had built over months unfolded in minutes. Financial records? Clear. Undeniable. I am the sole owner, I said. No dispute, their lawyer admitted quietly. Then I moved to the next file. Forensic accounting report. The judge leaned forward slightly. My parents claimed financial hardship, I continued. This report shows over $200,000 in assets. The judge turned to them. Is that accurate? No answer. Next. Bank records. Vanessa received $20,500 monthly for 3 years, I said. $90,000 total. The judge's gaze sharpened. To Vanessa, were you aware of this? That's not income, she said quickly. That's family support. Did you report it on your taxes? Silence. The air in the room shifted. Then I played the video. Vanessa, walking through a luxury furniture store, laughing, pointing at couches, talking about her house. The courtroom went completely still. Did you record this? The judge asked. Yes, Vanessa whispered. I was just manifesting. The judge didn't respond right away. But I saw it. That flicker of disbelief. Final evidence. Photos. Videos. Police report. Trespassing. Did you enter the defendant's property without permission? The judge asked. We're her family, my dad said weakly. You are also suing her for that property, the judge replied. 15-minute recess. When she came back, everything ended. This case is not only without merit, she said, her voice calm but firm. It borders on harassment. Every word hit like a verdict on more than just the lawsuit. The defendant purchased her property independently. The plaintiffs have no legal claim. She glanced at Vanessa. The plaintiff, Vanessa, has demonstrated a concerning pattern of entitlement and financial irresponsibility. Then at me. The defendant has shown remarkable restraint. Case dismissed. Just like that. Vanessa broke, right there in the courtroom, crying, shaking. My aunt started yelling about bias. Security had to step in. My parents? They just sat there, like everything inside them had collapsed. But the real ending didn't happen inside. It happened outside the courthouse. Vanessa was screaming, loud, uncontrolled. People were staring. Phones were out, recording. And then, someone recognized her. Oh my God, isn't that the girl from TikTok? More phones, more whispers. Vanessa turned, panic flashing across her face. Stop filming! Which, of course, made everyone film more. I didn't stay. I walked to my car, got in, closed the door, and for the first time in months, I breathed. But I knew something they didn't. This still wasn't over, because while they were busy trying to take my house, I had been uncovering something else, something bigger. And this time, they wouldn't be the ones filing lawsuits. 3 weeks later, Vanessa was arrested. Trespassing. Again. But that wasn't the real problem. The real problem was everything I had already sent. Tax authorities, fraud investigations, financial crimes units. Because the deeper I looked, the uglier it got. Unreported income, fraudulent fundraising, identity manipulation. And Vanessa? She had documented everything herself. Every lie, every purchase, every manifestation. Online, forever. 6 months later, my dad called me. His voice. I barely recognized it. We need to talk. I went. Not for them. For closure. The house looked different. Smaller. Empty. Furniture gone. Car gone. Even the silence felt heavier. Vanessa sat at the table. Broken. They're recommending charges, my dad said. Wire fraud. Tax evasion. Prison, my mom whispered. Vanessa looked at me. Tears streaming. I'm sorry. I'll do anything. Please. Just help me. I looked at her. Really looked. For the first time. There was no entitlement. Just fear. But it didn't change anything. You made your choices, I said quietly. Please, she begged. I'll disappear. I swear. My mom stepped forward. We'll never contact you again. Just help her. I let the silence stretch. Then I nodded slightly, like I was considering it, and said, no. The word landed heavier than anything else I could have said. You don't get to destroy me, I continued, and then ask for help fixing the consequences. My dad broke down. We were wrong. We know that now. I know, I said. And for a moment, I almost felt something, but it passed. Too late. I walked out. Again. But this time, I didn't look back. Vanessa was sentenced to 18 months. Probation after. Restitution. My parents lost their house. Downsized everything. My aunt lost her job. And me? I stayed. In my house. The one I earned. The one they tried to take. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't the second choice anymore. A year later, I stood in that same backyard. But this time, I wasn't alone. Ready? He asked softly. I turned to him, smiling. My boyfriend. The one person who had never asked me to shrink myself to make someone else comfortable. Yeah, I said. Because this time, I wasn't building something to prove anything. I was building something real, and no one was ever taking that away from me again.